Welcome to Slash Forward. In this episode, we're staying inside the warm embrace of Mother Earth with the 2008 creature western, The Burrowers. If you dream of a pug-faced reverse human munching on your soft parts, you should subscribe to the channel. Let's get to it. We open on the memory of a frontier courtship wherein Fergus Coffey struggles to find the right words to express his intent as regards Marianne, but he gets the job done. And then that very night, a quiet dinner is interrupted by gunfire and screaming. Paw busts in and moves them to the storm cellar, and we never learn what the threat was as darkness falls on them all. Coffey arrives the next day to take Marianne on a walk, but she's not home. But her blood is. John Clay, local hardass, shows up and assumes this to be the work of the natives, and he calls for the formation of a pursuit posse. Coffey enlists the help of William Parcher, an experienced veteran and adept tracker. He's compelled by his prospective thirst trap to take her boy along, in the hopes the experience means she'll have two men in the house when they get back. They start by noticing the conspicuous absence of blood on the bodies at the scene, and other unusual phenomena. Then the cavalry rides in, and after a little chain of command dick-waving by the captain, Henry Victor, they organize and ride out. Along the way, Coffey meets Callahan, a fine Irish cook and free man with a heart of gold. They're starting by going to the Sioux reservation, but they stop when they find a lone rider along the way. They employ brutal means of torture but are provided no information about the missing family, and a rift develops about whether they're hunting Indians or rescuing the Stuarts. The rift is further entrenched when Callahan gives the captives some food, and we find that Henry doesn't take too kindly to kindness. They talk him back from the ledge and bed down for the night. During the night watch, we see one sentry get his neck snatched and learn in the morning that 4 men are gone. The captive refers to the Burrowers coming to get them, which they take as a reference to a new tribe. Henry gets geared up about starting up with the Sioux tribe, but the others decide to follow the trail plainly laid out before them. They eventually run across a coach where the men and horses are gone, but the valuables are left unmolested. They pass the time mulling this over by tossing stones, and in searching for a good one, the boy finds a tuft of hair still attached to a buried woman, who they discover to still be alive when they find her toe a twitterin'. They send her back on the coach with the boy as they carry on the search. As they enter the woods, they notice they're being flanked by Sioux, and Fergus takes a pot shot at one of them. This results in him getting horse stomped in the face, and guarantees trouble down the road. Sure enough, as John tries to prepare them to push on, he takes a round to the neck, like a man of true grit, and then he dies. Like a man of true grit. They manage to fend them off using a horse as cover and try to wait out the trouble. Meanwhile, we learn about the Burrowers' methods as the boy is jabbed and anesthetized before being dragged into a shallow grave for convenient consumption later on. Back in the woods, the boys feel safe enough to leave under the cover of darkness and prevent anyone from following their retreat with a cloud of burning poison oak. A real scumbag move. At camp later, Fergus wakes up to a high fire and no Parcher, and they figure he's using them as bait. But gunshots ring out nearby and they find him in the field wrestling with some sort of weirdo. It's not even Saturday, so they fire on them and drive them off. We see Parcher's been halfway abducted, marked with a bloodless cut, but they didn't finish the job. And despite this, he does note some creeping numbness in his hand and face. They ride on and find another sole survivor. She provides some actual intel to fill the gaps for them. The Burrowers are not a tribe. They're creatures that eat the rotted flesh of their victims. They used to feed on the buffalo, but got a taste for human when we drove the buffalo off. And now they crave our soft interiors.
I like my soft parts.
Don't we all? She implies the Utes have been fighting them successfully, and Parcher is compelled to find them in the hope they know how to stop what's happening to him. They have her lead them, but Parcher starts to fall apart. They find a place to camp for the night despite her insistence that they keep on moving, as Parcher is now marked and they will find them. Sure enough, they get crept on, setting Coffey to shooting in an attempt to fend off these upside-down sons of bitches. And Parcher does his part despite his numbness, managing to shoot both friend and foe. They continue on, eventually running across 2 Utes. They're able to communicate in French, and while they initially think they're taking Parcher for healing, they realize they're actually using half-dead victims as ritual bait, which is their technique for killing the Burrowers. After they leave, Coffey examines the victim totem and finds his engagement brooch, ensuring Marianne's death. Now he has to go after Parcher for the greater good, as none of them are safe so long as the Burrowers are around. He finds the sacrificial grounds where a brief skirmish leaves one Ute with a gut wound and Coffey stuck in a bear trap. The Burrowers emerge and consume Parcher's soft, supple insides. After this, Coffey escapes and engages in hand-to-hand combat, repeatedly spearing and inflicting damage. However, he loses all little hope as they fail to die by his effort. But then, in the light of the morning sun, we see these pale boys can't handle the UV rays, and they fall apart. This is predicated by a Ute poison that was put in departure, so they have to keep the warrior alive to learn the secret. So Coffee heads to the nearest fort for help, but he returns to find Henry's division has already rolled through their camp, and the survivors have become victims of his war against the Utes and substandard frontier medicine, because in those days everything always was horrible. Just a quick reminder that I set up a website that allows you to support the channel via donation, if you're so inclined. Any additional support beyond watching the content would be greatly appreciated, and will earn you a link to an uncensored 10-minute review of Tobe Hooper's life force. Burrowers is a good entry into the somewhat limited horror western genre. It has a good amount of grittiness to it, which I like in a western, and benefits from being creature-based, whereas the common trope in this genre is to focus on spiritual dread. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.